Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Master this evening. Tonight, we are continuing on with our regular Wednesday sessions, playing Champion. Oh, I should have grabbed the game. Champions, the superhero role-playing game published by Hero Games. We are playing the 6th edition, I believe, 5th or 6th, I think, 6th edition of the Hero System. And this is our continuing. I'm getting feedback from somebody. Let's see here. Oh, I probably didn't mute. Hold up, let me mute. That's done already.
Maybe because did you sign into Roll20?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We are playing a Westmarches or semi-Westmarches style game where we've got a rotating. Oh, Steve might be. No, Jeff, it's you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm getting feedback from you. Okay. So what we're playing is the Westmarches style game where we've got different players coming in each week playing superheroes in 1937 in New York. Now, before we launch in to introduce the stars here too, I just want to quickly mention that we have started a fundraising initiative on the channel where called Heroes Save Villages, and this is an initiative to ask you to consider donating some money to a charity campaign that we're partnered with SOS Children's Villages International. It is a charity that services or advocates for kids' rights and also provides actual tangible benefits for kids as well in a variety of different ways in a variety of different settings. I have a link at the bottom of this description to the campaign, and then also a link to the video where I explain the reason for the campaign and what the campaign's about. So if you want to learn more about that, you can feel free to click through. This is completely optional as well, too. I don't want anybody to feel obligated to make any contributions. Everything is still free, obviously. But if I would ask that you consider at least clicking through to see what we're trying to do to give a little bit back with our gaming and to be some actual heroes for some very needy kids. So anyway, that being said, let's introduce the stars of tonight's session. I'll go with the order that you guys logged in. First up, we've got Jeffrey.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, and I'm playing Dr. Colin Black, also known as Duplicator.
Mm-hmm. And next up is Steve-O.
Hello, I am playing Natural Disaster, who also goes by the name Sylvester Leopold.
And last but not least, make it last but not least, but not niece. So Dave, to be clear, you're not my niece. Jesus, fucking Wednesdays. We have joining us from our Friday sessions, making his first appearance or his debut appearance on the Wednesday sessions, Dave. Dave's muted right now because his dog is very excited. Terrific.
Dave.
Yeah, Dave, you're still muted, dude. You have to go into your Google Plus call and then unmute yourself.
Yeah, I didn't want that whole feedback thing to happen, so I guess I muted the wrong. I'm like, oh, they'll be able to hear me on Roll20. Evidently not. You're playing with an idiot. That's who one of your players is. That's probably what my character is going to be tonight.
So Dave is joining us for the first time with the Westmarches or Westmarch Manor campaign. So we're going to we'll do the camera shuffle here, hop into Roll20, and then Dave will help pick out what character you want to play here. So let's do this. What am I doing here? I'm going to turn the camera off. Nope. First, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing here. Then I'm going to shuffle on over to Roll20. Let me make sure we're actually broadcasting as well. And see what we got here. Let's see. Is this actually working? My channel. Let's see. Come on. Yep, it is. Does appear that we are. Yeah, we're going. That's good to get to see. Present to everyone. I'll do that. Hide that. Okay, so Dave, we're waiting for Steve to join in Roll20.
Coming.
There we go. Hey, there he is. All right, Dave. So the types of characters that we have, there's two things I want you to consider. Is for one, kind of what broadly, you know, what kind of powers you want to have, because one of the very cool things about this setting is that you can play characters with a wide variety of different abilities. The other thing I want you to consider is that this is set in New York in 1937. I've got a variety of different kind of mood-setting, you know, pictures in here to get you in the mood, and that it's, excuse me, that is indeed the Hindenburg, complete with Nazi symbols, on flying over 1937 New York. The other thing I want you to consider is what kind of skill set you want to have. So is your character, now the 1937 is basically like right on the cusp of the superheroic age, but where we are right now is sort of in the setting is right near the end of the pulp era. So there's some weirdness that happens, you know, in kind of like the corners of people's eyes and stuff like that. And it's not public knowledge necessarily where everybody knows that, like, you know, the kind of things that people will soon take for granted, like giant robots and aliens and dinosaurs and stuff like that. That's not yet common, a common occurrence, which means that every new sort of superhero is a big fucking deal because it's this brand new big thing. So let's talk about the things that you've got to choose from here. Do you want to play a character who is super skilled with arrows and has a bunch of trick arrows, a la kind of like Hawkeye or Green Arrow? Do you want to play a character who has like tons of martial arts and like basically, I mean, it's a poor man's Daredevil, someone with hyper senses, but also like kung fu and shit like that? Do you want to play a character who's more just strictly kung fu stuff, really, where all his focus is martial arts training? Do you want to play a character who is super tough and super strong, kind of like the Thing or like the Hulk type character? Do you want to play a character who's super fast, like the Flash or Quicksilver? Do you want to play an energy blaster, like the Human Torch or like Havoc or, I don't know, any other kind of character who blasts out energy of like fire or whatever? Do you want to play a shrinking character, a character who can, you know, shrink down like the Atom or like Giant Man or Ant-Man? Do you want to play a spellcaster, a character who's got a lot of sorceress abilities and whatnot? We do have, in the group so far, we've got one character who arguably is like that already, but I'm not concerned about there being thematic overlap because the two characters, the actual abilities of the two different characters are very, very different. Do any of those really appeal to you, Dave? Or, oh, you know, I gotta refresh my camera while you're thinking.
Yeah, the energy blaster and or the magic user, I think.
Interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at here. Let me look at the character to. I think we shared with everybody. So this is Maelstrom. This is the energy blaster. Go to the character sheet. It will show you. So does that? Can you guys see the character sheet right now? Let's see. Boom.
No, the only tab is bio and info.
Oh, you know what? Because I'm a dummy. Hold on. Fucking Kev. Jeez. Bush League DM. Seriously.
Ta-da!
There we go. How's that? Can you see the character sheet now?
Yes.
And there we go. So that's what he looks like. At least this was the picture I yanked of Havoc, the X-Men character. So here's what this dude's got. His powers are like basically has like a force field. He can fly, and he's got energy blast, and he's got a thing called a multi-power. Now I think you. Oh no, you played King Shark when we played Mutants Mastermind, so you might not be familiar with this. But basically, if you think of like multi-power is kind of like, imagine like having a key that has like 5 different slots you can put it in, and whatever slot you put it in, it's a different power that you've activated, and it has to only be in one slot. The way this one's built, it has to be in one slot. So what he's got is this really interesting variety of blasts. So he's got one that's just a basic, you know, like, you know, blast people with his power. There's one that has reduced endurance, because what we track in this game as well is as you use your powers, as you use your abilities, you tire yourself out. Like, one of the neat things with the game is that you can have that sort of, the game will simulate that kind of like, you know, you've been blasting so long, it's exhausted you, and you know, you're near the end of a fight, so you have to take a moment to catch your breath. There's one that is penetrating, which means it's like armor piercing. And there is one that is a stun blast, which is pretty cool because you can see there's one that says NND on that. What NND stands for is no normal defense. Now, what that means is that it ignores any kind of defenses that the target has unless it's the specified thing. And in this one, it's energy defense that is resistant. That costs N. So basically, like in order to protect from the stun blast, they need to have a force field. And then the final thing there is power punch. It's the, you know, charging up your fist with a bunch of power and then bam, hitting the person and doing damage. They also, Maelstrom also has this thing called a Maelstrom blast, where it blasts out for an 8-meter radius around him, and everything there takes damage. Not him though. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yeah, it does sound pretty kick-ass.
Okay, so the name and the alternate identity are completely in your hands. You can name this character whatever you want. If you're cool with playing this dude, then you pick what this character's name is. And also, this game is a effects-driven kind of system in the sense that the game does only does enough to basically describe mechanically what's happening, but you fill in the narrative. So this character built the way he is, that blast could be a fire blast, it could be a cold blast, it could be magnetic, it could be whatever. Like you can make up what the actual power is, electricity. And then what we do is just when we're describing the use of that power, that will modify that will modify, you know, how it interacts with the world. So like, for instance, if say you pick electricity and you blast, like, say, a circuit board, or you blast like a robot or something like that, if we think that, oh, maybe this actually might be more effective against that, or it might have some extra uses, like fire would probably catch some fires, and, you know, we just add that narrative. So you can also feel free to describe what kind of power this dude has. So you got a name for him?
I mean, can I just stay with Maelstrom?
You absolutely can. His name is, right now is Emelio Franconi. You're absolutely free to change that as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with it the way it is.
Easy to please. What kind of power does he have? What kind of like, what's the source of the power here?
I've only got to pick one, right? Like it's not like I can alternate it or changes.
No, that is an actual. We'll talk a little bit more after when we talk about advancement about like how you spend points, but that would cost you more. To have variable special effects is an actual specific advantage, where you could do like fire sometimes and electricity sometimes, and, you know, magnetism or radiation or concussive force. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking something along the lines of like a like kinetic force, which I guess would translate into, I guess, thematically it'd be concussive, really. I
think that here's the thing: is that remember the time period for this character. This is a golden age character, so it's a character who got his powers in, you know, the 1930s. Those types of characters tend to have more simplistic explanations rather than sci-fi kind of stuff, and like kinetic power is probably more of like a post-war kind of concept, I think.
Okay, let's go electrical then.
Electrical, okay, cool. And what you could find too, like because here's another very, very comics thing to do. If you're calling it electric because it burns and whatever else, you know, and has an interaction with electricity and whatever, what you could say, if you want to make it something more like modern sci-fi, is that what he actually does is he blasts plasma, like superheated matter, in a transitional state between matter and energy, and because that matter reacts the same way that electricity does, that, you know, back in the day, in the now, we just didn't understand it wasn't electricity, that it was plasma.
Yeah, actually, I like that compromise.
Okay, cool. So that way you get some more flexible kind of, you know, cool modern power set, but it fits in the what do you call it, in the period. Also, I mean, I think what we can do, if you dig the suit here, you're free to pick whatever the hell you want. But if you dig the suit, what we would do is just picture what a 30s version of that would be, right? So it's probably just a black thing with a very simple set of lines going down.
Yeah.
He's also an Italian-American in 1937 too, so I think there are going to be some challenges that you may deal with as well. So let's bring this down here. Oh, actually, that's actually really fucking cool because that gives me some really interesting Godfather-esque kind of things to play on too. So I love it. Would you kindly, too, Dave, change your display name to Maelstrom? To do that, you just go to the cog on the right to My Settings and then just change your name.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let's do an opening. Oh, actually, let's open copies of the characters here. Oh, Matt O'Connor is not here right now. He's busy dealing with his newborn. Have you seen Brent yet?
No, you know, I was gonna give him some time to settle in and just kind of get acclimated. And there's nothing worse than just getting home and like trying to get your bearings. And then all of a sudden, people start, you know, ringing doorbells and hanging out for prolonged periods of time. So I thought, you know what, I'll play it by ear, and you know, I'm fairly certain he'll reach out when you know, when he's ready.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Did they pick a name?
Sorry?
Did they pick a name?
They hadn't at the point where they went into the hospital. I'm sure that they have at this point because they don't let you know without a name. I just don't know what it is.
Okay. That means I get to still make my usual joke of Kevin is a good name for a boy or girl.
I felt the same way about Dave, actually.
Exactly. It's hysterical. There's actually a doctor in that I see in my practice fairly often whose last name is Dave. He's South Asian. But every time I'm like, Dr. Dave. Because I'm easily amused and a little bit racist, I guess. Okay, so guys, scene opens in a busy museum. We can tell it's a museum because there's, you know, obviously like ushers and whatnot that are in there. There are a bunch of, you know, crowds dressed in a typical 1930s kind of fashion, you know, like people who are men with hats and full suits on and, you know, tweed and whatever. And there are kids running around, you know, with sort of like, you know, bags of popcorn, and there's a big display, you know, dinosaur bone that's or not bone, like a big full skeleton of a big T-Rex that's right in the middle. And incidentally, to my for those who may be listening at home, my version of New York is in no way based in fact. I am taking a TV movie of the week level of verisimilitude with my depiction of New York. So I realize that I think that dinosaur skeleton I'm thinking of is actually in the Chicago Museum, and I don't know whether it was there in the 1930s, but I don't care. For the purpose of our world here, the Champions world, it's there. People are going around, and what we see moving through the crowd is this figure in a long, dark, black, seemingly like silk or velvet cloak. He has his hood up, and he's moving his way through this crowd towards, and we can't see his face. We see that he's carrying a satchel as well, too. And oddly, as out of place as this guy seems to be, nobody seems to be paying him any mind. He's walking along, and in fact, no one seems to be even looking at him. He makes his way through the crowd of curious children and, you know, teachers trying to manage their school groups and, you know, young people who are on dates trying to steal some time alone from the folks and, you know, curious old folks who are going around and taking in the place, and then the, you know, museum workers as well. And we see that he walks up, and then there is a big sign that says Egyptology, and it points in one direction. And we see that the person stops. Again, we still can't see his face. The robe moves back a bit as he looks up, and he turns and heads off in that direction. Scene cuts, and we're in the Egyptology wing. We can see a big there's a string across the this one room, and it says closed, you know, in that painted kind of way that would happen in the 30s. And there's a guy with you know, bespectacled who is working, you know, on setting up a display. He's cleaning some kind of like sarcophagus, and this room is full of all the different kind of, you know, accoutrements you would expect from from an Egyptology wing. There's beautiful sarcophagi. There's, you know, statues of Bast. There are a bunch of amulets and so forth that are displayed in glass cases. And this guy is working away on setting up maybe like a mummy. And he's sort of like, you know, finishing the last sort of touches on this thing. He's got he's short. He has glasses, and I'm trying to think who he's played by. You know, he's played by the guy who played Neelix in Star Trek Voyager. I remember him because he also plays a security guard in Alec Baldwin's version of The Shadow, and that's who I've got in my head right now is that little guy. So he's working away, and we suddenly see this black-robed figure walk up next to him, and he's sort of working away, and then sort of he looks up, and this figure is much taller than he is. We still can't see his face, and he looks up and he says, "This exhibit is closed," and there's no response from the other guy. The bigger guy places this big case down. It's almost like a doctor's case, the kind that you open up and it opens up and leaves this, you know, solid sort of solid structure for the interior. What is that? Says the little guy. What do you look? You can't be here. I'm going to have to call the. And the guy turns, and we can't see his face still, but we can see that it's shrouded in this darkened hood. And we hear a man's voice, whispery and seemingly airy as well, too, that says, "Leave." And the little guy gets this look on his face of like, and he's suddenly not bothered by this guy in the robe being there. He turns and walks out. Still has his little brush and his little like pick in his hand, and just kind of walks out. He walks along. He hits the rope, which then sort of folds around him. And as he's walking along, the two stanchions kind of fall over. And he drags those behind him. We hear the scraping on the marble floors as he walks away. This guy, we then pan back to the robed figure. He reaches into the case and pulls out this stone sphere, and it seems to be made of like sandstone, and it's got some you know, elaborate Egyptian markings on it too. And he looks forward, and he turns, I guess, places this thing right on this sarcophagus, right in the middle of this room. He stops and begins saying some words like a chant in a language we don't understand. But it sounds vaguely, you know, kind of Egyptian, like Hollywood Egyptian. And as he's speaking, there are small traces of bluish light that kind of go up this thing, outlining all the different hieroglyphs. And it slowly sort of moves and jerks. He's not touching it, but it's jerking on its own as he's chanting. And as we see his hands go up, his suit jacket falls down a bit, and we see these large bracers with a bit of like gold with elaborate Egyptian markings on them. And he's talking away, and this thing begins spinning, and it drifts slowly up in the air. And as it does, he keeps chanting and chanting and whatnot, and then the camera sort of pans over back to the mummy that the guy was working on, and it's this desiccated, dried, like it looks like beef jerky wrapped around a skull kind of thing. But then we see this dull blue light begin to form in the base of the eye sockets, and it kind of creeps forward like old leather, and we cut away. What we see is a busy New York street. This is, looks like, let me see here. Where is the good picture here? Where is that one? I think it's probably close to this one here, guys. Oops, which I have not moved to the map layer yet. The bottom right. So what we see is there's, you know, these just like you see in the picture there, there's a bunch of antique cars going back and forth, you know, and the camera pans over and we see the exterior of this enormous mansion. And it's a, you know, brick and mortar style mansion, like an old, you know, kind of like railway baron or like, you know, newspaper baron kind of old money New York mansion. And you see in wrought metal over the gate leading into this place, there is the words Westmarch Manor. And the first little bit of it, like right at the base of the mansion, is a glassed-in area that is an elaborate greenhouse. And as the camera sort of goes in to you know, the greenhouse and passes through, we see a man who looks very much, like this, standing and talking to another man who is much bigger and much more impressively built, who is played by Terry Crews. An older Terry Crews, though, like he's got gray in his mustache and his beard, still big and bald, and he's wearing this really, like, maybe 2 sizes too small safari shirt on. And these two guys are having a conversation, and the character who Terry Crews plays, his name is Doc Westmarch, and Doc Westmarch says, "Look, Dr. Black, or look, Colin, I don't know what to tell you. Agent Valiant said he had to leave."
I know, but we're just getting started on the investigation. It's very frustrating.
Well, these things happen. I have the address if you want to follow up on.
What's Dr. Westmarch's first name?
Adam.
Look, Adam, you know I'm just impatient.
Oh, and he clips a rose, and it's this really elaborate, almost like translucent blue petaled rose. Something clearly, you know, unnatural or custom grown. I know, Colin. He clips, and he says, "But not to worry. I've got a young man who I think might be able to assist. Someone to lend some power to your presence." And around that time, we hear this, like the sound of like a dynamo going, like there's this crackling of electricity and energy that comes from outside. And even though it's daytime, it seems like it's the outside became even brighter as we see this figure kind of streaking down the street. Whoa! And everyone is sort of, wow, you know, looking up and seeing this thing go by. The man sort of turns and suddenly lands outside of the Westmarch Manor. And Dave, why don't you tell us what this character looks like and who is he played by in the movie version of our campaign?
Well, what he looks like is kind of your prototypical lanky Italian kid. He's got black hair, darker brown eyes. He's got that swarthy look that an Italian who spends most of the day outside in 1937 New York has. But he's pretty lean. But you can tell even through his the suit that he's wearing, he's made of some pretty corded muscle underneath there. As for who would play him in the movie version,
is he attractive?
What was that?
Is he attractive?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking, you know what? Because I watched Peaky Blinders not so long ago too. I've just got fucking Adrian Brody stuck in my head.
Oh yeah.
Because he plays a character who's in like an Italian mobster in that. But I don't know if that's, to be honest, like what I thought the entire time I was watching him, like, is Adrian Brody Italian? Because he looks.
I don't think so.
No, he doesn't look Italian whatsoever. But I'm having a hard time. Like all my I'm going to are all like gross stereotypes. Like what's his name? The guy who plays Christopher Moltisanti in The Sopranos, or like Ray Liotta. Neither of which I think are particularly attractive. No slight against those two gentlemen, but
especially if they're viewers.
well, it's just that they're not. I don't see them as necessarily like pretty boys. They're not the like fucking Joe Pesci. Oh, hey, Jesus! What about a young Bob De Niro? Was that too masculine?
What? I don't even think I've seen a picture of a young De Niro.
Have you seen Godfather 2?
It's been quite a while ago.
Or yeah, do a Google search for Mean Streets De Niro. That's a pretty young. I think that might have been one of his first films. Let me see if this is. I mean, we don't have to do that right now either, but.
No, you can think about it while we move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe those are not. Actually, you can see a young, what's his name, Harvey Keitel in that as well too. Okay, so he lands, and the crowd is that's sort of walking on the street all sort of take a step back. There's still, even after he lands, there's some after effects of like lightning kind of going around. He's also dressed in kind of like a circus suit as well, which like a strongman suit, which is probably kept taking some, hey buddy, you forgot your clothes. What are you in your underwear for? And you kind of look around. You've been here before. This is the home of Professor Westmarch. Or Doc Westmarch. So what are you gonna do? Either of you guys, actually, you see all this happen outside.
Oh.
And Dr. Black, I'm not sure you've seen this dude before.
No, I don't think we've met. So I'll walk up and introduce myself.
Okay. So you step outside the as you're waiting outside there, Dave, the door to the greenhouse just past the gate opens up, and this young man steps out who looks like this, played by James McAvoy. Although like a jacked version of him.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the preview for that movie, by the way?
Yeah, for Glass. Yeah, it looks. I was thinking of your character actually when I saw it.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah. I still haven't seen Split yet though, so I need to see that at some point.
Yeah, I'd watched it before I had watched Glass.
Okay.
You would watch? Oh yeah, for sure. Because it'll tie it all in, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I just, I got burned by M. Night Shyamalan so many times in the last like decade or 15 years that I kind of stopped like watching his films. But I've heard that Split's really quite good.
I would say it's probably the first one that I've enjoyed in a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Good day, sir.
How you doing?
are? What's your name, good sir?
My name is Emelio, but you can call me Em.
Oh, nice. I am Dr. Colin Black.
Do I have to call you all of that?
No, Colin is good.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Colin.
Oh, that's awesome. Good choice. Okay, so Dave has picked an actor named Gabriel Garco as the character who's playing this. What's he been in?
I don't know.
I can't wait to if you die tonight, your last internet search will have been for hot Italian men.
Oh, this is my work laptop too. This is gonna end so poorly.
Yeah, so he is a Italian actor and former fashion model who's been plays a mob boss in something. Yeah, it's all Italian stuff, so I'm not familiar with it, but I will add him as a picture between now and the next session then. So, you you land. You find this well-dressed, young professor-looking character, expensive clothing, who's waiting for you. What do you make of this circus suit this guy's wearing there, Dr. Black?
I think I immediately assume that he must be some kind of a super of some sort, especially if the doctor's invited him here.
Okay. So you see in sort of who walks up to stand next to Dr. Black is Doc Westmarch, and he says to you, sorry, Ennio, was that your character's name? I don't remember here. I'm going to change your second here because we're not. Okay, Emelio Franconi. Emelio. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. He walks out and says, Emelio, if you could please get inside. You are attracting attention of the neighbors. Everything is fine here, folks. And you can see that there's like across the street, there's an old lady who's walking her 2 dogs. And she sort of looks over at Doc Westmarch and he says, hello, Mrs. Prim. And she kind of, wrinkles her nose, shakes her head, and walks her dogs inside. And you can tell it like, this is the thing that happens every time some weird shit happens outside of Westmarch Manor. This lady is there to witness it and react accordingly. So she walks inside, and you look over, and Emelio, she's sort of like looking at you like you were so inappropriately dressed and whatever. She's not really fazed by the fact that you just flew and had lightning coming out of you, but
she does have a look like you're ruining her day on her face.
You're bringing down property values for the Prims.
Hey, Adam, I think she likes me.
Please always use that accent. That's awesome. So he leads you inside. Have a good day, Mrs. Prim, and then closes the door behind him and walks inside. He says, I'm glad you could make it. Now, you see, Emelio, the reason I've called you is because you see Dr. Black here is investigating a particular occurrence. Not occurrence. He's investigating, somewhat of a mystery. And it seems like there may be some fairly powerful individuals involved in this. Dr. Black, I'll leave it to you to fill things in. And it's around that point when suddenly there's just this guy appears in the middle of the kind of in the middle of the group of you guys. And this gentleman looks like a gypsy to your eyes.
A good-looking gypsy.
Yeah. In the movie version of our campaign, Steve's character was played by Jim Morrison. So he appears and sort of like looks around. Now, Steve, just to fill in what's happened for you, what happened in the last session is when you guys were still in Bend, Oregon, you guys came across there's some other guy who came walking up towards you, and you kind of freaked out because, see, there's this really old, really fucking serious kind of super, FBI agent. If you think of like Nick Fury, but played by Josh Brolin, that's Jack Valiant, who is Corey's character. In this campaign, he has just started being like the guy who runs the weird occurrences branch of the FBI. But in your day, he's the guy who arrested you. So what happened is you saw him, a young version of him, and kind of freaked out and teleported away, leaving Brent's character behind to deal with the consequences. And then they sort of made their way here. Brent's character is investigating something else on his own that we'll deal with, but you picked up, you may remember in that first first session in 1937, you guys came across that demon. Remember that?
Right.
Blood Rage. Well, you have since, let's see here, you have since been sort of, you met up with Agent O'Connor. You have reappeared and kind of stole him away, thinking that he might be placed under arrest. O'Connor told you, no, it's cool, but there's something he wanted to investigate, and you decided to kind of do a little bit of investigating on your own. But what you've been detecting is that there is this significantly powerful arcane source that seems to be emanating from New York. If you were to sort of, activate some kind of magical, what you tried to do is you worked some kind of ritual to try and track down where this Iron Father ended up. Remember the old Japanese guy who you found in that cabin in 1920 or in 2018?
Mm-hmm.
You tried to work some kind of magic to locate this guy, and in the course of doing that, you found that New York City is a bit of like, if the Earth or North America was kind of dark and the sources of magic were lights, what New York City looks like right now is, a million-watt light bulb that's just shining directly in your eyes.
Okay.
It's this blinding amount of power that seems to be coming from this place right now, which is really weird. You felt that magic is actually, the ambient level of magic in this time is actually a lot lower. It's harder for you to work your magics right now than it was. And it can sometimes have, because there's this, massive pulse of power, you try to teleport to Winnipeg. To Winnipeg. Why wouldn't you, you try to teleport to New York, and the reason you got this address from Agent O'Connor, because it was left with him in that hotel in Oregon, and you did your clairvoyance thing. You made sure that the area was safe, and then you teleported in. But you've been so sort of bamboozled by this or thrown off course. That's where you suddenly you appear in. You have met Duplicator before. You've never met this skinny Italian kid, and you don't know who this big black guy is. So what are you doing?
I look around and I
somebody. Hold on, let's see who it is. Speak
I
again, there,
think
Steve-O. Say again.
Yeah.
Marco
Polo.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's Did you mute your roll 20?
I didn't mute my roll 20. I muted Dave's. Here, I'll mute mine.
It's so rude. Dave, I don't give a shit what you have to say, but I love hearing the sound of my voice. Spoken like a true lawyer there, Steve-O. Oh, shit. Okay.
How's that?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no feedback. So sorry, you were saying, Steve, what do you say?
I look around and say, well, hello. Don't mind me. I'm just looking for some ancient devices.
Doc Westmarch looks at you and he's got a cross. So it's like, pissed off Terry Crews. He was looking down at you. And
Sylvester, you made it.
Oh, hey.
Doc Westmarch looks at you. You know this man?
Yes, this is the other man I was talking about, the man from the future.
Ah, this is the first you're hearing of it, Emelio. So he...
Oh, yes, Emelio. What we're investigating is time travel.
So this guy is from the future?
That's correct. 2018, I believe. Is that right, Sylvester?
Well, I guess if we're telling tales, then yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Sylvester actually knows. Oh, no, you know what? Probably Agent O'Connor would let you know that
he filled you in.
Yeah. What happened is that Agent O'Connor did fill them in on sort of what the time travel, that you guys were out of time, but also like really emphasize that it was important for you not to let just anybody know, right?
Right.
Let me repost what you guys had, what you're investigating here. Here's some of the key points that you guys revealed. Here we go. You knew that there were two bad guys from the future. You know, there's a company called HMHK. That is a Belgian company. You know that the company is associated with a guy named Edgar Sengier. You know that it has something to do with the Belgian Congo, because HMHK is actually short for what is it? The Union Mineral. I think it's UMHK actually, not HM. Union Mineral de Haute Katanga. It's a mining company based out of the Belgian Congo. You know that the two guys who travel back in time are associated with the Nazis and Imperial Japan, and you guys know the model of the car that was stolen in Oregon, near where you guys appeared from the future. So,
Right.
what are you guys going to do? So, when you first appeared, and what you came here for, Steve, is I think that they made it clear that Doc Black had some contact in New York who would be able to help, and then also because you sensed that there was some really powerful magic going on here. Steve, would you kindly give me a roll 3d6 and compare it to your detect magic ability?
Rolling 3d6.
Your detect magic sense is 12 or less. Hey, there you go.
Nice.
All right, so you appear, and the reason you feel a little disoriented is because A, you teleported a really long distance, and also B, your heads of swimming a little bit due to you basically got, if you can picture that the teleporting is sort of like being pulled through space from one point to another, rather than having a smooth transition, you came through way faster than you expected. So you're sort of like, whoa, dizzy a little bit. And the reason is because there's some serious fucking mojo being worked in New York right now.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in New York, there's a really powerful invocation that is being affected.
There's some mojo rising.
There's some mojo rising. Yes, there's some mojo rising.
All right.
So, Dr. Black will bring Emelio and up to speed, and also let Sylvester know what he's done since he's last seen him.
Okay. I don't think Steve knows. Do you want to let him know what?
Yeah, like, sorry, what's Corey's character's name?
Jack Valiant.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Black and Jack Valiant traveled here to New York after finding out from Agent 11?
From Matt O'Connor. Yeah.
From Matt O'Connor about time travel. We came here to the Westmarch Manor because I have friends here who can help us. And basically, Dr. Westmarch has told us that he's business partner, he's done business with the owner of HMHK, and he can make an introduction if we would like. And that's sort of really all we did, other than explore the mansion a little bit last session.
All right. Well, good work. I guess you're one step ahead of me then. But it does just so happen.
Hardly now, seeing that you have some kind of teleportation spatial ability.
Oh, I guess you're just getting to know me, aren't you?
Truly.
Emelio, what do you make of all this?
Emilio's taking it all in. He's rather fascinated by the prospect of someone from the future because, he's like a 22-year-old kid, and yeah, that doesn't exist in his world. So,
what kind of upbringing do you think, Emelio? I'm looking at his skills, and he's got like streetwise and stealth and knowledge of the city, and not really much else. So, like, is he kind of a no, not like a street kid, but I mean, like, was he just like dropped out of school early and shit like that, and sort of maybe been in a youth gang?
No, he's a runner for his uncle who's connected.
Oh, so his uncle is part of this thing of ours.
Yeah. So, he's young. He blends into the neighborhood. I mean, just based on his dex and con, he's mean, he's fast
Oh, yeah.
and he's fairly nimble. So, I mean, essentially, he's his uncle's bagman.
Okay.
So, and that would explain why he knows the city as well as he does. He's got the street savvy.
Yeah. You know, maybe that's why Doc Westmarch kind of took you in, is he wanted to try and put you on the straight and narrow rather than let you end up basically becoming a supervillain.
Right, get you out from under your uncle's thumb.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys going to do?
So our options are.
So, sorry, I'll give a reiteration too, just because this is a little different from the way our other games work. Is there's this world, like, because it's what's called a Westmarch's style campaign. It's a sandbox, so there are things you can investigate, there are things you can engage with, there's things you can try and do with the setting, but it's really left in your hands as to what you do. Whatever you choose not to engage with, like for instance that you guys didn't follow up about blood rage or anything like that, then there will be, the world will respond accordingly to that. I'm keeping track of what sort of the bad guys are doing in the background, but that's the way this campaign is set up. It's just sort of like you guys have the freedom to sort of go and do whatever you want. It looks like there's one mystery going on where these guys from these Nazis and whatnot from the future, or fascists from the future, have come back in time with some kind of plan. Do you guys want to fill Dave/Emelio in on what seems to be the plan?
You might know the most about that one, Steve.
The plan?
Well, what are the Nazis up to? Like, what did you guys get into?
Well, they are using uranium for some sort of devices that are very powerful, not just nuclear weapons. And we're here to try and find out what that is and maybe put a stop to it, because it seems to have affected the course of history.
Nuclear would mean nothing to Emelio.
Oh.
In this age, it's 1937, so
right.
fission isn't even a thing yet. At least not a technology that's been developed by mankind.
Right, of course, he says. So.
Because Emilio's got this blank look on his face like,
You ever heard of Einstein?
Colin will jump in and he'll say, they are using advanced science to try to affect a war that has not yet happened.
All right, so where do we find these guys?
That's the mission. Figure
Well,
out where in New York they've gone.
Right.
Well, you tell me what they look like, and I know some guys.
Okay. Steve, do you have descriptions of them? I've never met these people.
Well, I do know what two of them look like. I don't know if they'd be here.
Our best guess is that they're here in New York.
You got a photograph?
I'm afraid not. But we do have the name. We do have the name of the company that they work for.
Is this company in New York?
Well, that's what we're here to find out.
well, Steve, what makes you think they work for a company?
Well, I mean, there's the company that mines the uranium that we want to look into, and then there's the Iron Father and the Superman. I could describe him.
Sturmvogel.
Sorry?
Sturmvogel.
Right.
Think of like Dolph Lundgren in his prime. That's sort of what he would look like in the modern or in 1937.
Right. And yeah, we could track him down. I don't know if he's operating very famously just yet. Let
me make a check here. I'm going to roll for you. You've said this in front of Adam Westmarch now. Let me make a quick roll for him. See if he recognizes either of those names. Well, actually, he won't recognize Sturmvogel. I'll tell you, there's an automatic fail there, and but I'm not going to tell you the reason for that. But I bet you guys can guess it. Can you guess why he'd get an automatic fail on that?
Sturmvogel?
Yeah, why he wouldn't recognize? There's no chance of him recognizing Sturmvogel's name.
He's from the future.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Well, he's a Nazi superhuman, but because he's not recognized right now, that likely means he hasn't got his powers yet.
Right.
However, he turns and he says, "I'm sorry. Say that name again. The first one."
The Iron Father.
And his face sort of twists up and he says, "Iron Father. I faced him before, or at least one of the men who wore that name. That's who came back from the future?"
Well, that's who sent me back from the future. I'm not sure if he joined me, but maybe he's here.
The Iron Father, it's a name of a legacy. It's the name adopted by the head of a ancient and secretive mystic order that ruled the East for thousands of years from the shadows. I faced the Iron Father in the course of my adventures, thwarting him and his plans that he had for the modern world. You're saying that him or one of his kind traveled back from that far in the future?
That's a very strong possibility.
I hear that you are an occultist of no small means, Mr. Leopold. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a gift.
The Iron Father who I faced was he was a liar and a gifted charlatan as well, but I believe he knew secrets that would be considered sorcery.
Well, that sounds like the right kind of person.
That's of great concern. If he came back you face no small foe then.
No, he's very powerful.
I'm assuming any man who harnesses the power of traveling through time to be powerful.
From I'm trying to think, did he explain? I'm going to assume that Agent O'Connor explained how they got, how they traveled through time as well too. And there was a really elaborate, remember there's that really elaborate kind of contraption that
right, I know it's not his own physical power, but he's wielding it.
Yeah. Guys, sorry, I gotta take let's take a 5-minute break right now. We're coming up on 9. I need to go to the washroom and grab some more water. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and then continue this on.
All right.
Sound good, guys?
Yep. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure where the best place to investigate is at this point.
Yeah, really. What do we want to do? Do we want to investigate that company, or?
If we want to, then Dr. Westmarch has an in for us. I mean, our two investigative characters aren't here today.
Well, if you want, I can use my underworld contacts to see if...
Yeah, why don't we try that since you're here today instead of our FBI agent characters? We have 2 FBI agents, but neither of them are here today, so why don't we try something underworldy today?
Well, I mean, if you've got nothing else, and especially if this guy's coming in and he's disrupting things, usually the underworld tends to hear about that.
Track against that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm in for that. I think that would be a good direction to go today.
I should also try to find out a bit about that magic that's well, I mentioned to you guys that I also noticed there's a lot of magic operating in the area.
Oh yeah, that's another thing we might want to investigate today. I think that's the best 2 directions we got for today's session.
So Emilio's reference to magic is like fucking coin tricks. So
Magic is a vast universe.
So I don't know when you got back, Kev. Like, which of those ideas that you heard we'd like to pursue today?
I heard neither of them. Sorry. What's
okay. Well, we're going to use the strengths of the characters that are here today, and save maybe some of the slightly more investigative stuff for when one of our 2 FBI agents are here.
Good one.
And so
at this investigative shit. So
exactly. So Dave is going to use his underworld connections to see if he can find out anything about these 2 guys showing up in New York.
Yeah.
Because that might be their best method to try and do whatever they're doing, is to try and access the underworld.
Okay.
And Steve's going to try and investigate this major magic event that you're talking about. See maybe if they're connected to that.
Okay. That's awesome. And that's exactly, guys, when we were talking before we went live about, like old school play kind of stuff, that's exactly what, what it is. It's just like working whatever little angles you can work to try and, drive the story forward and drive the, the clues forward or get more
playing
clues.
To the strengths of the characters,
Totally. Yeah, that's great.
We'll save barging into the HMHK office when we have an FBI agent with us.
So I'm going to type it. It's UMHK because it's.
UMHK. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. That was my because it's Union Mineral de Haute Katanga.
Okay.
So are you guys splitting up then, or what?
Well, I think maybe Emilio might go do the underworld stuff on his own. I think showing up with a stranger doesn't.
Well, I can tell you, like, maybe I wasn't making it clear before, but like, whatever massive magical working is going on, it's happening right now.
Yeah, so we should.
I've got like a fucking headache right now of whatever is happening.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing that there's nothing that the mob hates more than power consolidation somewhere that's not under their purview. So.
Well, remember, in this time, there's not like necessarily a unified front with the mob, right? Like there's some sort of agreement between different families, but like just like modern day sort of street gangs, there's gonna be different territories in New York where they're controlling different parts.
Right, but if there was a new player in town that was disrupting things or trying to consolidate power elsewhere,
absolutely,
they'd have a handle on that shit like post haste.
Let's just, you know what, here, give me so Dave, the way this game works is to determine success or failure, you're always going to roll 3d6 and you always want to roll low. So roll 3d6 and we're going to see if you can roll equal to or under your streetwise skill.
So this isn't actually tied into
not the character sheet. No. You basically what you'll do actually. So what we've been doing is if you open up the what do you call it? That's great actually. But if you open up the dice roller and you just roll like 3d6 and then 12d6 and then whatever else, it'll set up prompts for you. So every time you log in, it'll have those things ready to go. And you can just roll them again. But that is a great roll. So you know what you've heard. I think I want to say is, you've heard that it's not your uncle's family, family that he's working with, but there's there's someone else who I'll say it's the Gaetano family, the Gaetano family down near the docks. They've been apparently they've made some deal with some kind of foreigners. They don't know where they're from, French maybe, German maybe, to do some kind of deal. Something's getting moved in. And it's a big, because they're not trusting the family to do security. They're bringing a bunch of other guys in who are packing heat.
What's M's relationship or his uncle's relationship with the Gaetanos?
He knows of them, but not like, doesn't know how to get introductions to them necessarily. This is apparently not happening for a month or so, but the plans are what you hear through the grapevine is that plans are in place already. You probably have to follow up with the Gaetanos to get more info. But that's just like when now it's been mentioned, like, oh, that's something I remember. You hear the sound of like an old timey, or modern day for Dr. Black and for Emelio, siren go by outside.
It sounds like we have a bit of time to act on that, and the magic thing is happening right now. So.
Well, all right then. I mean, if we're gonna go see a magic show, let's go see a magic show.
Sounds good to me.
Right on.
Maybe I need to use my detect magic. Well, yeah. Did I use my clairvoyance already to get near the magic, or do I need to detect it?
Let's see here. You did detect that there's something going on right now. What I'll let you do is just sort of focus your clairvoyance. How far does your clairvoyance go out?
It goes out 3,200 meters, 3.2 kilometers.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. I think you can definitely extend out. Let me just see. Clairvoyance. Cost tensions. So cost endurance. So make sure you're spending. Oh, do I have? I don't know if I have tokens for you guys on this one yet. I do not. Okay, hold up. I'm going to cut and paste tokens from one of the earlier screens, and I'll create one for Emelio. So you have one here. Yes, I do. Good. Oh, I don't have one for Dr. Black either. No, I have to create a new one for natural disaster anyway, so maybe I'll just create fresh ones on here. Fresh ones. Okay, so Emelio. Boom. I'll make that bigger. And Dr. Black. And I'll make that bigger. And Sky. And I'll make that bigger. Okay, guys. So, Dave, this is first time you're playing this. What I'm going to set up is so that the red is your body. This game tracks different kinds of, basically like different kinds of hit points. You have, and those reflect different kinds of damage you can take. There is stun damage, which is just like non-killing, and then there's body, which is lethal damage. Excuse me, my goodness. So what these bars will do is the red will track your body, the blue. Everybody see Sylvester's bars?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
How about his nameplate? You guys see his nameplate?
What's his token?
There.
Oh, oh yeah, I see the bars are just empty, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah, I can see. I don't see Emelio's bars.
No, I'm just setting them up right now. So in this, I will just cut and paste these from now on. Okay, so the red bar is for your body, the blue bar is for your stun, and the green bar is for your endurance. And if you fill your bar up, that means you need to take a nappy nap. Either, actually, that's not true. You just, I don't think if you run out of endurance, you pass out. I think you start stun instead. Give Emelio his name too. Okay, so you guys see everybody?
I see.
Okay, let me just sort of reorganize stuff. I have forgot to add all these pictures. Whoa, someone took that damage.
That's only 12. That's not,
Yeah, that was 12?
Yeah.
Ooh, you do not have a lot of body. Do not get shot.
All right.
Probably a good policy in general.
Yeah, it's just a generally good rule.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're stunned already?
I'm trying to find the right one for my endurance.
Oh, that's the red one or the green one. So, I was reading Clarsentian.
The green one. Okay.
Yeah.
There.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that's including my teleport.
Yeah. So what I was trying to read there. Oh, are you teleporting to the source of this thing, or do you mean like from when you used the teleport before? Steve?
Yeah, I may as well just sort of teleport there, or use clairvoyance to see what's there, and then try to teleport into a relatively sort of quiet part of the room or whatever.
Okay. So what you do is, so the reason I was looking up clairvoyance because I wanted to see whether you could use your unnatural senses through it, and it turns out you can. So you can sense that there is, or rather, you can make a roll here, and let's see how your detect magic goes.
Alrighty. Noise.
What'd you get?
9.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay, so yeah, you sense out, and holy shit, it's only about like maybe 3 blocks away.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, he's in. I mean, the mansion is in a pretty nice area, and it's actually right near where the Natural History Museum is. And the you're definitely able to use your clairvoyance and get there. And what you see, where do you want to be, Steve? Do you want to be outside the museum, or like right where the source of the power is?
As close to the source of power as possible without being seen.
Well, you can't really know that until you actually get there, right? Like, well, you're not going to be seen anyway. Like your clairvoyance doesn't necessarily manifest an eye or anything like that.
Right.
So you could easily just like sense out. What I'm asking is, are you trying to sense on the outside of the? Because it'll cost you endurance each round you maintain it, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I would like to see what's going on for sure.
Okay, so let's say you start outside the museum, and you can sense that you can see that there's like people screaming and running out of it, and like down the steps outside. Think of like the opening scene from Ghostbusters, basically.
Right.
And then you can see that as you sort of pass inside, you look around and like the museum is strangely empty. And then you look up and kind of like, holy shit, you can see that there is, actually, where that giant Tyrannosaur skeleton was that we saw in the opening scene, it's not there. But you see briefly this. I think actually maybe you have to. No. You'll see so that there's some security guards. You hear some like gunfire, and your sensor goes off in that direction, and then you see that they finally sort of like run, and these 2 security guards dressed in like blue uniforms come running out past your sensor, and then you come around the corner, and what you see is this basically like an Egyptian style mummy, all black and with bitumen wrappings on it, with a big curved kind of Kopesh sword, and it's kind of swinging around, and they sort of stomping, or there's 2 of them, and they're stomping around looking as if like they're looking out for more patrons. And you can see that there is 2 kids who are hiding underneath a display right near where these things are walking, and these things are walking towards where these kids are.
Uh-oh.
What do you do?
I snap out of it and immediately tell my 2 friends that, look, there's a magical event taking place, and it's not good, by the museum about 3 blocks away.
All right. So what do you need us to do?
We need to get there as quick as we can because it looks like people are in danger. There's a mummy running rampant.
I cannot tell you, guys. I cannot tell you how happy that sentence just made me.
Dr. Black asked, can you teleport us there?
I could do that. Yes.
That sounds like the fastest way to arrive.
Can you?
Will we be sick?
If I stunt it, you gonna let me stunt it again?
Yeah, which means that 10 times or 5 times the endurance cost, so it costs you 30 endurance.
Oh man, that's. Maybe we should take a cab.
Emilio, your flight incidentally costs 0 endurance.
Oh,
you could fly over there and get ahead of us.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, you guys. You know what? I'll just meet you over there. All right.
So you're trying, just so you guys can judge what your ability scores are like. 10 is like human average. So your dude's actually a little stronger than usual. If you wanted to carry somebody, Dave, you could probably do that as well.
While I'm flying?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that still leaves one person behind, though.
It really does.
I can teleport.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. You can teleport yourself safely.
Yeah.
Just if you take us, then it's stunting it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the guys are talking about, Dave, is that you can use if there's like a reasonable sort of like new use of your powers that you want to try, you can do that. It costs you a shit ton of endurance to try that. So it'll be 5 times whatever the normal endurance cost is for that thing. So like if say you wanted to, make electric chains around someone, right, and like to trap them, you could try doing that, but it's you pushing your powers into some new direction.
Okay.
So, Steve, take a post segment 12 recovery first. So you can recover endurance, and then you guys can vanish again. Steve, I think there's not really any sort of like manifestation of your powers when you arrive, right? Like it's not like there's a flash or any shit like that.
No, I sort of fade in. Yeah, quantum separation.
Right. So you disappear, fade out, and you fade in, and you're waiting there for about maybe about 3 minutes when you hear that the crackling dynamo sound of Maelstrom flying through the air, carrying. Are you carrying Dr. Black like baby style, or is he just hanging from your arms, or what?
You know what? He's I've got him on my back.
Okay. Like a pony, or like
Piggyback. Slim Pickens.
Nice.
Slim Pickens. Okay, so yeah, you come soaring in, and then you effect a landing, and the last sort of like person comes running past you guys, and you're now standing in front of the Natural History Museum. What are you guys gonna do?
Follow the sound of the screams.
You don't even need to make a roll at this point, Steve. Like you can feel the power of something going on inside, some magical working of really impressive power. I'm just going to refresh my camera here. I think, Steve, you just froze in my camera. I'm critically hitting. Holy shit, guys. That's amazing. Boom. Yeah, you're back. Okay. So, what are you guys going to do?
Well, let's
You're
go
heading towards. So, is there a marching order here, guys? Is someone going in first?
Well, I believe the man who knows about magic should go in first.
All right, I'll lead the way.
It's just the way this game works. Just player knowledge.
So for Emilio, the way that again, because your flight costs you nothing, you could just be like floating in the air if you want.
Yeah, he's a bit of a showboater, so any chance he gets to use his powers, he absolutely will.
Okay, so he's up in the air, and you drift in, and you guys get in there, and then there's that same room that we saw in the opening scene where there's the big the big dais in the middle where that Tyrannosaur was. Duplicator, you've been here, or Dr. Black, you've been here more than enough time, so you know that should be there. You look up, and that skeleton is completely missing.
Gentlemen, you seem to be missing a giant dinosaur skeleton.
A massive footstep.
I'm gonna say that's not good.
Again.
That exhibit was my favorite exhibit.
And this thing then from the big archway where you can see through into the next sort of area, and there's that same sign we saw before where like Egyptology and some other, you know, like Native American stuff. I guess it wouldn't be called Native American this time. Indians, I guess. This thing steps forward and it's a giant. I think we've, oh, Jeff, you, I don't think you necessarily have been. The rest of us have been to the Drumheller Museum, right?
Yeah.
You know that big fucking Tyrannosaurus skeleton that's on display there?
Mm-hmm.
That's what steps out. Boom, boom, and it's got a baleful blue light in its eyes, and it rears its head towards you. And without a word, its teeth and jaw kind of opens up wide. And give me a sec to grab its stats. So here's the way that initiative works in this game, Dave, is it goes through a regimented series of segments. You may notice on the left side of the screen, there's a turn order.
I had closed that down, but I can...
Okay.
I will blow that back up.
Okay. So the things we need to do is, let me see here. Where is your character sheet? Oh, you know, I refreshed, so I lost your characters. What's up here, guys? There's Emelio. There's Dr. Black. And
Hey, it just so happens that Jim Morrison is a Lizard King as well.
he is the You're on fire today, Steve. Clearly been saving up all your witticisms over the last week, a month, I guess. Okay, so speed 6. So, Dave, here's the way that, just a nutshell thing. The way we determine who acts first in a segment, each turn is divided into 12 different segments. Each segment, or the number of segments you get to act on, is determined by your speed. So you have a speed of 6, which means you're acting on 2, 4, 6, 8, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, which means you're pretty quick. In those given segments, whether you are using a physical attack or physical action, or you're using a mental action, will determine whether we look at your dex or your ego. You're always going to use, like Brent is the only one really in the group that uses ego. Oh, you might actually too there, Natural Disaster. Steve-O, does your guy have any ego-based powers?
There's the one that affects ego. Mental defense adds 2 ego.
Is there one that says uses mental combat value? I think one of your powers does.
Uniton Cloud, OMCV versus DCV.
Yeah. So because that's OMCV, that means you're using your ego rather than your dex, which is good for you because your ego is a 23. Holy shit.
All right.
Okay. So Emilio's 23 and Dr. Black. Jeff, what is your dex and your ego? Actually, you're not going to use mental powers. What's your dex?
Dexterity. Oh, shoot. Let's see. 20.
20, and your speed is a 6, right?
Speed 6, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys, I missed a film. Awesome. I'm filling up my little cheat sheet that has everyone's stuff on it so I know when everyone's acting. So the way it works, though, first is we start in segment 12 where everybody gets to make an action. So I can tell you that this critter is likely to have a dex slower than you guys. So which means that one of you guys, either Matt or, not Matt, either Emelio or Sylvester or Dr. Black gets to go, or actually Emelio or Natural Disaster, you guys get to go first. What would you like to do?
I could use my Karmic Curse of Catastrophe and drain his values a little bit, making it easier for you to punish him.
Sure.
It's like, that sounds like a thing. That sounds good. So Steve, how does your Karmic Curse of Catastrophe work?
It's got a couple of varieties. One, I can drain the DCV, or I can drain his physical defense.
Okay. One of the things you're going to hear, Dave, is OCV and DCV. OCV means offensive combat value, and DCV means defensive combat value. How hard you are to hit and how easy you hit someone. In reverse. Offensive, defensive. Okay, so you're going to drain the DCV of this thing? Is that what you want to do, or the other?
Yeah. Yeah, let's say the physical defense. That's sort of like
Armor.
armor,
Armor.
exactly. So that would relate to damage, and DCV is how hard it is to hit the thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
This is a giant T-Rex skeleton. I can tell you that it's probably going to be pretty easy to hit this thing.
Right. Well, let's drain his physical defense then.
This is the proverbial broadside of a barn with teeth and claws.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
You know how that saying goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go ahead and make your attack roll.
Attack roll, 3d6. 14.
Okay. So what you do is you're going to add 11 to that. So it's 25 minus the minus your OCV. And that'll tell you what DCV you hit.
OC. And what about my +2 with quantum magic? Too late for that.
No, I'm doing that. I'm fucking that up. What is your OMCV with your quantum magic?
It is 8.
8 in total. Okay, so your OMCV is an 8. Is that including the bonus from your levels?
No.
Okay. So what you would do is you would declare what those go into, what those levels are going to be into at the start of the phase.
Right.
But that's okay because we're all learning. So you have 3 levels or 2 levels?
2 levels.
2 levels. Okay. So what you can do, Steve, is you can put those levels into your OMCV, your DMCV, or you could spend 2 of them to raise the effect value by 1.
Let's put it into OMCV.
OMCV. Okay, so that means you got a 10. So it's 21 minus this minus 14 means you hit a DMCV of 7 or less. So that absolutely hits this thing.
Nice.
So what is the effect of your thing?
It takes off 66 from physical defense. Drain physical defense.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and roll 66.
Alrighty.
Physical defense is, I think, 2 per point.
Boom, 18.
18. Nicely done. Okay. So 18 points means there are. Sorry, I'm just going to check what the cost is here. For 1, wow. Okay, so there are a bunch of like cracks and like brittle. What is actually your spell manifest like there, Steve-O?
So it's there's this sort of haze and fog that is generated on my hands, and then it comes out as two beams that sort of then enshroud the entire object in fog and sort of, if you could describe it, it would be like causing it to crumble.
Awesome. Okay. So we see that these bones that make up this thing, they wither, they age. We can see cracks begin to form. The plaster or the whatever thing that's coating these things begins to crack and chip off and whatnot, leaving it much more vulnerable. Dave, what's Maelstrom going to do?
He turns and looks at Colin and Sylvester, and he's kind of torn at this point. He's like, because it is, in fact, his favorite exhibit. He's like, do I really got to take this down?
Rexy! A little tear goes down.
So seeing the look in his colleague's eyes, he's like, fine. And so he turns around and he unleashes an energy blast.
Okay. So the way this works, Dave, is you are going to be targeting this thing's DCV. So what you do is, what is your OCV? It should be on the left there under your attributes.
Yep. OCV?
Yep.
8.
8. Okay, not the cost. The OCV is, yes, 8. Awesome. Okay. You also have 3 levels with energy powers. What it is a skill that sort of reflects your ability to, to hit or to hit harder with these things. At the start of each segment, what you do is you choose what those points are going in. You can bump up your OCV, you can bump up your DCV and fight like in a defensive manner, or you can spend 2 of those 3 levels to bump up the effect by 1 and gain an extra dice and damage.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, that means you got 1 left over then. What's going to go to OCV or DCV?
I'll go right to OCV.
OCV, okay, nice. Okay, so we take your OCV, which is a 9, add 11 to it, and then go ahead and roll your dice and subtract that from it. That tells you what DCV you hit.
All right. And
Yes,
so what I'm
3d6.
rolling is 12d6.
3d6. You're gonna roll to hit. Remember, success and failure and whatnot, like trying to determine whether you succeed or fail. Always 3d6, and you want to roll low.
Okay. So the 12d6 then for the blast, that would be damage. Is that?
That's damage, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it actually be 13 because you've you juiced it up as well. Maelstrom 10. Nice, Kate. So you had a 20, I believe, because it was 11 plus 9 is 20 minus 10. You hit a DCV of 10 or less, which means that's a fucking awesome shot. So you nail this thing. Let's see how much damage you do. Now let's roll 13d6.
Alrighty.
So, and you unleash first Maelstrom Blast. Whoa! Wow.
Flat.
Okay, so 46 damage. So what this is, you've rolled the stun damage. What that is just it tracks how much stun the target loses. The way we figure out how much body it loses is basically we look at the dice. Every 6 counts as 2. Every 1 counts as 0. Everything else counts as 1. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Holy shit. My goodness. Wait, is this in one? Where's his body? Where's his body? Wow. All right. So what does your blast look like there, Dave?
It's because it's plasma. It's not really like the streaking, arcing, cracking electricity that you would expect to see from electrical damage. It's more of a smooth, like it has a flow to it. The way that in Ghostbusters.
Yep.
Where
proton packs?
What was that?
Proton packs?
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so it zorches all across this thing, and you send this thing reeling back, so it loses one of its it loses its footing and hits against the wall and kind of staggers back. A bunch of its ribs are all blasted and smashed away. One of its little spindly arms is blown off, and it kind of it's not talking obviously, but it sort of roars its giant maw back. You've really injured this thing. It's not down yet, but it's quite injured. Now, for both you guys, Natural Disaster and Maelstrom, remember to mark down on the green bar how much endurance you use. Next up is Dr. Black. What are you doing?
I'm going to look around for some kind of an improvised weapon.
There's probably like those stanchions I mentioned, like the little rope holders or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like poles. There's probably one of those kicking around. Is that what you're looking for?
Sure, that'll work. I'll grab one of those.
Yep.
And I'll try to smash one of its legs out from under it.
Awesome. Okay. So and you easily it's certainly close enough for you to move in and attack at the same time. Go ahead and what is your OCV going to be then?
7.
7. Okay, so it's 18 minus whatever you roll.
18 minus my roll.
So 18 minus 7. A DCV of 5 or less. Ooh,
Wait, I want to roll high or low?
You want to roll low because that means you're going to hit a higher DCV. So do you really think that a 5 would be enough to hit this staggered T-Rex skeleton?
I do. You said it was like hitting the broadside of a barn.
That is absolutely correct. And even though that is not a great roll, it is enough to hit this thing. So go ahead and roll damage. Your damage is going to be, what's your strength damage?
Is that listed somewhere?
Should be, yeah. It's your strength divided by 5. That tells you how many d6 you roll.
4.
4. Okay, so it's 46. And then the club you're carrying, I think, is going to be an extra 2d6. So you're going to roll 6d6.
Okay.
No, actually, sorry, make it 8d6. Club is 4d6. So, swing up.
Come on. 8? No, that works. I just haven't rolled this one before.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, like I actually I don't know. Were the Brooklyn Dodgers gone by this point?
Oh,
By 37?
I don't know.
got me
I
there.
don't know baseball.
No, me either. I should really look some of this shit up before we go live instead of me.
But you didn't know I was going to swing a club at a dinosaur.
It's about 2/3, superhero role playing, and then 1/3 random history trivia. So that's a great fucking roll. Okay, so 31. Wow. Okay, so I think between the two of you guys, you've done 67 points of damage because Steve has drained all of its resistance. So
Nice.
you smash this thing, and like most of its leg is completely blasted away. Its tail sort of falls off behind it, and it is near falling apart. But there still is this evil sort of like you see like there's a pulse of blue energy, and where the skin would have been on this thing, it's sort of like a ghostly outline that kind of runs along this. And you see its baleful eye, even for a split second, look down at you, and it's gonna kind of go down and try and chomp on you. What is your DCV?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you're the closest right now.
Oh, yeah. DCV is...
Actually, I'll roll. I'll do the same thing that you were doing.
7.
7. Okay, so okay, so that's him. Let's see what he gets. Oh. Okay. So I did roll actually pretty good. So I hit a DCV of 9. Is that right?
Yeah. That's
5.
me.
Yeah. Hits you. So these powerful jaws come down on you and chomp. Now, here's something you can do. Do you see on your character sheet on the left there are a bunch of maneuvers listed?
Yeah.
One of those is, some of those are listed. Actually, hold on. Let me see if it actually says it on it, whether you can abort. Yes. Okay. So you see how dodge it lists as abort? What that means is you give up your next action to do it. But what it does is you can gain +3 to your DCV. Now, did you tell me that you aborted knowing just how fucking deadly this thing's giant jaws were going to be?
Well, how do I know? Like, what kind of hit points do I have?
Well, I can tell you that this thing, it's going to react fairly intuitively. This is not like D&D where, like it can gnaw on you for a bit. And you're not a tough character. Your character has, what is your physical defense?
My body is 20.
Nope, your physical defense.
Physical defense. Where does it say that?
PD is on the left side, or it'll either be under your defenses.
Oh, PD 11.
Ugh. Okay, so these giant. Yep.
Can Emelio see that that Colin is imminently in danger? Like,
oh yeah,
he's gonna get the shit stomped out of him.
He's gonna get the shit chomped out of him. Is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, I don't want to retroactively change things. Just like, I mean, if you tell me it's going to outright kill him in one bite, sure, but
yeah, like it's not necessarily going to outright kill you, but there's a good chance that you'll be on death's door.
Okay, that's okay. Do it.
Hey, Kev.
Okay. Yep.
With Emelio's force field, is that personal, or can he project that?
His Emilio's which skill?
Force field.
No, that's on him. That's only on him. You would have to stunt it to use it on someone else. So remember, like you'd have to like basically pay 5 times the endurance cost. So, but you can't actually abort to that. So this thing chomps down. You take 10. All right. Let me just check something here. Awesome. Okay. Phew. I forgot about one of your powers.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that. It's a fun way to explore my power.
This is actually super cinematic then too. So what happens?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this thing goes down, and I just want to double check something here. Sorry, guys. And for those listening at home, we're this is one of our first times playing. This is our first time running a campaign with this game. So we are unfortunately spending a little bit of time looking up rules fairly often. And by we, I mean me, I guess.
Well, you don't want to make a mistake, really.
Well, yeah, I'm still a firm believer in the you look it up once, you don't have to look it up again thing. So there we go, body. Ooh. All right, so I don't think you're dead. So that's good.
That was the question I asked. Is it going to just instant kill me?
No, it's not actually instantly killing you.
Okay.
Okay, but this thing does chomp down and like its jaws. You can see these giant fucking sword-like teeth stick into this guy, and he kind of yells out. Blood spurts from his mouth. You can hear the horrible crunching of his fucking rib cage as it collapses in underneath these powerful things. The T-Rex sort of brings him up, casts him to the side. His limp body hits the ground wet and begins seeping out a dark color or dark puddle of blood around him. Sylvester, Emelio, you look down at this in shock. You look up at the T-Rex, and even as near shattered as this thing is, it clearly seems still in the fight. We'll have to see what happens next session.
Oh.
So,
What
for
the?
those listening at home, well, I'm going to finish my camera shuffle here. I'll stop the broadcast here. I'll log out of here, get out of here, exit game. Yeah, Dave, so it's the first time you've joined us on a Wednesday. Wednesday, we try to be really strict with playing only 8:30 to 10:30. So we never, because it's it's a work week or work day, so we don't go over. All right. So for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of the Champions Westmarch Manor session. Dave, thanks so much for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing what more exciting adventures Emelio gets up to in the coming weeks. And we'll have to see what the hell happened to the now apparently dead Dr. Black. What the what? What kind of thing is going on here? I look forward to finding out. So, for those listening at home, as always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will endeavor to respond in a timely fashion. Alternatively, you can reach me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings. So Dungeon Musings, plural, all one word, on Twitter, or on by email at Dungeon Musings, again, all plural, at gmail.com. And finally, I'd ask you again to, if you have enjoyed the session, or if you haven't and you still might want to check out our fundraising campaign, please click through to learn a little bit about the Heroes Save Villages campaign that we have going now. So otherwise, guys, thanks to my players for joining me tonight. Thanks for those viewing at home, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks. I'll see you.